All right, today is Sunday. Up here with my first video to try to get a series of videos about COPD up here. Give you an idea of what I went through with COPD. I was diagnosed in 1987. Shortly after being diagnosed, I quit smoking. So did my wife. It was too late. Ended up with a lot of lung problems over the years. I should have known better than to smoke all those years. Well, it wasn't a lot of years, but enough. I'm 80 years old. I'm knocking on the door of going into the stage 4. I'm presently in stage 3. I don't take oxygen. I'm close to it. At night, when I'm sleeping, my oxygen level goes down quite a ways, down past the safe threshold for continuing to do that, that's for sure. One of the things that's helped me quite a bit, I think, probably was because I have sleep apnea, so at night, this machine under pressure sends just regular air to me. It's no oxygen added to it. Just helps tremendously, and it reminds me to take a breath, I guess you could say. The sleep apnea itself, there are times where I've forgotten to breathe when I'm out walking, and then all of a sudden your body tells you better breathe, and boom, you start breathing again. I've had sleep apnea longer than I had, well, I shouldn't say that. I've had sleep apnea a long time. I've had to have it. When it was discovered, I was having trouble. I thought I had Alzheimer's because it was so bad I couldn't remember anything. My memory was shot just from lack of sleep. But now my problem is lack of oxygen. And the reason I'm making these videos, besides telling you what I'm going through or what I have gone through and what I've done to get through those things, and hoping that maybe you'll get on here and give me an idea of what you've went through. So far, the videos I've done up to this point have been about everything except COPD. And one of the reasons I'm coming on here is because the COPD is affecting me more now than it has in a lot of years. The reason I caught that RSV a year ago, this last Christmas. My wife also did, and with her, it almost just about took her life. She ended up in ISU for a little over a week, right on through New Year's Eve. I think I was able to bring her home shortly after New Year's Day in there, but and it took another month at least to stabilize her oxygen in up to about the normal range. It fluctuated tremendously during that month that I brought her home. But before that, it got way down. It was below 60 the day that the minute they took her in and they rushed her into ICU rather. She could no longer walk and could hardly talk when that happened. And they reacted quite quickly once they got her inside. We didn't even have to fill any forms. They had her upstairs in this isolation so quickly, it was fast. And once they got her stabilized, then I went over the forms with the hospital. So that's pretty unusual. I've never quite, well, I did go through something like that when I had a stroke, and the hospital reacted the same way. They had me stabilized before they even begun to talk about insurances or anything like that. So anyway, getting back to this reason for being here, during the early stages, when I started receiving a lot of treatment, which was 15 years after diagnosis, at that point, the doctor scared the heck out of me by At the time when he started treating me, I had double pneumonia and I had bronchitis. And I couldn't walk 20 feet. Couldn't hardly talk. I didn't know what was going on half the time. That's how bad it was. I had been on the job site. The company sent me home and said I needed to get care. I didn't even realize how bad I was. Anyway, he said I was going to have a heart-lung transplant sometime in the next 5 years to survive, that I was bad enough off that I could very soon get on the list for donors for this operation. And for about 6 months, I was in the dump, feeling very bad. I did go back to work pretty quick as soon as I could get me stabilized. My job didn't require a lot of exercise other than walking. I did a lot of climbing on this job, but the company realized the shape I was in, and they'd rather have me at work in the capacity I could rather than not working at all. And they did offer to help me if I wanted to try to retire, and under the handicap part where I could get assistance from Medicare and SSI, I guess you'd call it. But I would have been in my 50s. Very hard to make it financially on that kind of stuff. My nest egg wasn't, big enough. So, with a lot of advice from people that worked in the company, and one of my friends who went through some pretty tough times for the lungs and had suffered a heart attack as well. He helped me with a few pointers and things to do, and by that time he was close to, I think, maybe 70, close to it. But anyway, the advice he gave me was good. And he was working just because he wanted stuff to do. He didn't need the money. He was just bored to death, and that's why he was working. Whoops. That old chair of mine has done it so many times. Like a little thing back here keeps it from rocking or tipping back. It slips. Whew. that got me going. Well, this friend of mine that got me started in the right direction, with his advice, exercise was a big one, and a bicycle was my choice of things to do. And the first few weeks or month that I was trying it, I'd get going and I couldn't pedal back. I was in such bad shape, and I would be completely out of breath. And I'd lean on the bike and walk slow. And I was working out of town by then, and I had let's see, I think I had a motor home, and then I ended up buying a trailer with a slider, and then I bought another motor home. When you're working out of town, if the weather's decent, you hate being in a hotel or motel. It just messes you up. It's a pain. But my choice at that point was something like that. Well, the exercise did a lot for me. And a little bit of singing. Medications I took to get it. I had used I think it was Advair, so that I didn't have to use this as often with that. Once a day with that helped, but it caused me a lot of problems with thrush and throat infections. And I got to the point where I was having a hard time talking because of those infections. So I went back to using my emergency inhaler 3 or 4 times a day. And with the exercise and stuff, Actually, I got it down to about once a day, and then just a few times a week, my lungs started clearing up. I was getting rid of phlegm. And then I went through almost 10 years of where my lungs weren't going the wrong way. And part of that was, while it was still, about when I was 64, I suffered a stroke. And it took part of my right side down. I got it back very quickly while I was in the hospital. And most of it, except for once in a while, I have a trouble, I'll drool a little bit. If I get tired, it really gets, I don't know what's happening, but it happens to me. And when I'm tired, my talking will get, like I have a mouthful. So, I won't be quite as plain, let's put it that way. Those are the effects, and from 1987 till I was in my 50s. It was a progressive thing until it took me almost down. And then I started working on it to turn it around, and I got to the point where my lungs weren't deteriorating. And I stayed in stage 2 for quite a few years. And as you well know, if you've got a little over half of your lung capacity, you've got what is needed under normal circumstances. In other words, people out there only use half of their lungs, a healthy person. And when you have COPD, until you go down below that point, it's not as noticeable, unless you do something extremely strenuous. But when you get into the 3rd stage, you start having panic attacks. Like for me, it would happen more when I first lay down, because I couldn't get enough air to satisfy my needs of the exertion I'd already spent getting from the living room into the bedroom, lifting the covers back, lay down, and the whole works. I would be out of breath. So it was strenuous, at least, and you wouldn't think something that simple would be, but it was very strenuous. Then I relied a lot on my machine from the sleep apnea to assist, and that probably was one of the biggest helpers, was that machine. Now, I'm not looking forward to oxygen therapy, and I've recently changed doctors, of which I'll be going to an appointment in the next couple of weeks. And this doctor handles both sleep apnea and COPD. And one of the reasons of switching to that doctor was I was going to 2 separate doctors before, one for the COPD and one for the sleep apnea. And to get to that doctor's, it's 160 miles a day. So I cut my trips in half by going to this other doctor. But the other thing is that I have both entities, the apnea and the COPD, being treated by one person. And I have a better chance of the good treatment, because it's not 2 doctors talking back and forth. It's one doctor with the knowledge and all the records of everything having to do with my lungs and the breathing of what's going on. And that's the way I should have done it in the first place, instead of separating them out. The people that back then, of course, everybody has their idea of a quick fix, and there is no quick fix that I'm aware of. But the breathing exercises, where you take a deep breath and you purse your lips and let it out slowly under pressure, is one of the biggest helps, because if I get into a bad spot, I know that I can just kind of take it easy and breathe like that. Now, people might say sit down and do it, but I'm going to tell you something. Sitting down isn't the best thing to do, because, like me, if I bend over, it stops me from breathing very well. So if you can get where you're you're stretched out a little bit and take those deep breaths, then that's what's going to do the best for you. And from that point, then it's a matter, you got to calm down. I have asthma as part of my sleep apnea. So I'm affected by different odors, cold weather, hot weather. So it seems like everything piles up on you when you get to that point and you're trying to figure out, well, what can I do? Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, when I first retired, which I retired 15 years ago, I worked on old cars, classics. That's why this garage is here. I had it built just for that. And my wife and I actually did all the finishing inside, the taping, painting, electrical work, insulating, epoxy floor. All that was done by my wife. I hired a company to put the garage up. I hired another guy to put the sheetrock up. By then, I was up there in age where I didn't feel like hanging the rock. And I put my own door in, or doors. Well, wait a minute, no, that door I had the carpenters put in the windows, that's right. And I hung the door, it came late, and I put it in. And I trimmed it out. It's like a house in here. If I wanted to turn it into a house, I could do it very quickly. It's big enough for a one-bedroom home, by the way. So, real quick, and it heats easy. And air conditioner. I've got an air conditioner over here, and it doesn't take much. I think it's 12,000 BTUs is what I use on that. And I've got my overhead at 40,000 BTUs. Now that'll warm this garage up in the coldest day in about 15 minutes. It's over 70 in here, and it could be close to freezing in here before that. Now, enough of that. That doesn't have anything to do with COPD. A year ago, last Christmas, it hit me so hard and caused the problems I'm having now. And that's the idea of this channel is so I can talk to you and you can talk to me and let me know some of the things that you're aware of that I may not be, and I'll try to go over some of my things each time I get on here. And when I come on here, I'll try to come on with something different that I did along the way, or things that I found on the internet, or I'll maybe throw out some questions and see what you did in those circumstances. The testing has been a little while since I did it. I barely was able to get enough so that I could get through my last back operation. And obviously, if I have to have something else done, I worry about being able to pass the physical so I can even get it done, because my breathing is so tough. And I realized they stuck tubes down my throat and all kinds of stuff last time. And they can keep you breathing, but it makes it harder to recover later, the further you are with COPD. And you don't want to catch something if you go into a hospital, and that's the place that you're going to catch it, if any place is inside of an environment like that where so many people are already there. I keep during the worst of the seasons when people are catching the flus and of course this pandemic that went through, you try to stay away from drugstores, and of course you got to eat groceries. You got to get groceries, and you're in that environment, but you try to minimize it. You keep that liquid soap around so you can clean your hands off it. It's got the cleaners in it, that sanitizers. I've got the liquid sanitizer in every vehicle. So when we go somewhere, we get back in the vehicle, we do it to our hands. My wife and I both, we do that religiously year-round. And thought we had it pretty well whipped till we got RSV, and we didn't know how bad it was. We didn't realize, because the literature was out there, that it was more for protecting children, that they were the ones that were getting hammered. And then I found out it was older people too, and bang, we had it. And it was, from beginning to end for my wife, it was about a month and a half for her to get back to normal. If you want to call normal, you never get completely back 100%. And I never did. I'm still having problems with phlegm. And I had most of the phlegm problems fixed by singing once a day for an hour or two in my garage here. A lot of people wonder why I'm set up out here, but that was the big thing. I have an area on a bench behind me over here that I set up so that I could sing at it, and I have a stool right here, and it sets up a little high because my bench is one of those that's built up high. And it's worked out very well, and every once in a while I would stand up to sing a song, and then other times I'd sit down, and this was ideal for all that. As I progressed, I moved the stuff over here closer to my exit door, and I've got my old office chair sitting here, and a card table in front of me that I'm set up with this, and that constitutes an easier way for me to get a video out and talk. And I do have a channel out there where I talk about other things. This video is for COPD and not for anything else. So anybody that accidentally got on here and you're bored with me talking about health items, I'm on here for COPD and people that have it, or people that have an idea of what to do in the different stages. I've been stuck into third stage for a number of years and thought that I would never have to worry about fourth stage. But because of the recent illnesses, I realize now that this may be more of a one-way trip, and that things may not get better. But I'm going to try to delay it getting worse. And from what I've seen, when you first start fighting this system, you go down very quickly and you come back up, and then it kind of slides down. And that is pretty much the way it is with me. And a few years ago, I went through, well, every year except for this one, I've went through where they give you treatments with the prednisone, where you take a high dosage, and it's over about a 1 month period to wean back off from it, and then you feel like a young guy for a while, and you breathe better and you feel better, and I mean everything. It's a wonderful feeling for a while. By the third or fourth day on prednisone, I feel 20 years younger, and I actually can get out and I get around walking real well then. I don't have the aches and pains because it helps with your arthritis. I did go through infusion therapy a few years ago, and it was made for asthma, and I had it for hives that were bad. I had them under the skin and on top and all kinds of stuff. But part of it was the asthma part, and I don't know what was causing what at the time, but I was on it a couple of months, extremely expensive. Man, I didn't realize how much it's going to cost, and I was under a special program, experimental, and I still had to pay. It was thousands of dollars. I think it was about $16,000 a month, and my portion of it was, I think, around $4,000. And Medicare doesn't accept it. It was an experiment, and Medicare doesn't pay a part of it. I was under a different program, but I still had to pay some out of my pocket. But it was after a couple of months, I mean, it takes a few bucks. I was glad, I was out of that, but I went right into a back operation. That took me down. I mean, it really took me down. And part of it, I was in a wheelchair and then a walker, and I finally got my operation and got back out, and And then I went through the treatments just before and after with prednisone again, with shots. And everything turned out pretty good. A year and a half later, then I went through it again. All the problems, having to use a walker, wheelchair, get the operation out of the way. Well, that one worked pretty good. And so my back has braces, and I've got grafts, bone grafts in my back. They took part of a vertebrae out down low, cut part of my disc out. That was the second time go around on that lower part. And now I'm about halfway up and down to the tailbone. There's metal in my back to help stabilize it, and these bone grafts down at the bottom. Along with this darn COPD, and then I got hit with the RSV. So I've been kicked a lot. I didn't think that, well, first of all, I didn't think I was going to survive it when I was told the doctor that I was going to have a heart-lung transplant. And then when I got past that, I thought, oh, the stroke was going to take me, because here that comes along. The Lord has seen fit to keep me around a while, I guess. Now this part is a little worse. And if I can get a few more years, I'll be happy. But I know that I can't go through another RSV infection. I just don't have enough left in me to do that. My lungs are that far gone. And sometimes it's hard to talk because, as you can tell, I have to take a breath every so often. And I've been talking before, and it just quits. The words don't come out because there's no air. That happens to me. And it happens to me almost every time I try to sing. I'll be singing along, and boom, it's gone. My inhaler helps a lot, but it doesn't do everything. Just like right now, I've been talking enough today that the phlegm is partially coming up but not out. And I try to get past that point. And I realize it's going to take more exercise so I can get this system up and running like it was before. But it's not recovering as easy. And I was hoping that somebody out there that's going through it has better ideas. Now, a neighbor of mine that was a good friend of mine, him and I were neck and neck for years. And for some reason, he got sick, similar to like I did with RSV. And a few years later, he was gone. It took him very quickly. He went on oxygen almost immediately. And from there on down, a couple years, and he was done. I'm hoping that it doesn't do that to me, because if it does, I won't make it through this coming winter. And at the rate I'm going right now, I don't know what I got left. It's a daily fight, and I'm always glad in the morning when I feel halfway decent. I can get out and have my cup of coffee and breakfast. And I'm lucky I have a wife that puts up with all this stuff. I plan on doing this a couple times a week, going on here, and it'll say COPD on my header up there there, so that it doesn't get mixed up with other things that I'm doing on my internet channel, my YouTube channel rather. And I don't want to bore the people that are with me on my BS channel, where I'm talking about not necessarily problems of the world, but problems that may be coming up with other things, but not health. The reason I want to separate it out, number one, is I don't want, like I said, people get bored because they don't want to hear your health stuff unless they're already involved in their own fight for health reasons. And people that are fighting the health reasons don't necessarily want to see the other things, because those things bore them. They're looking for a reason, just like I am, to live longer and easier. And I guess what worries me more than anything is, I don't like to think about the suffering that's going to go on as I get to the point where breathing is so hard to do. I experience some chest pains as it is. especially on a cold day, all the way across the top up here. It just feels like it's bending, and you can, it hurts. There's times where it affects other things, as everybody well knows. All your organs suffer for lack of oxygen. And so, as you get treated for them, more doctors, obviously. And you have to have a day comes where you say enough is enough, and you don't want to do it anymore. There was, I take medication for my heart already, and not too long ago, I wanted to see what I could do without, because as you start taking different medications for different things, you get tired of it and you want to know is it doing any good. So I talked to the doctor, and the doctor said, yeah, fine. And I stopped taking a medication for my heart that slows it down. And very quickly, it went the wrong way. My heart rate went way up. One night it was between 120 and 146 beats or something like that. And it was thumping pretty hard. And my blood pressure went up over 180 and I think 126 or something. It had got pretty high, my blood pressure. So I started back in and taking that again. What I found out was that the minimal medications I take, and actually the heart stuff was to keep me from having strokes. You need them. And the reason I wanted to get off from that particular one is it makes me tired, because when I first take it, my heart rate gets down to about 40. And I don't know if any of you have ever experimented with medications, for your heart, you go with your doctor. I don't know how many of you have that problem. Let's put it that way. But anyway, normally I think it's about 65 or 70 beats is what they want you at. And when it slows down, it makes you very tired, lethargic. And it took me a long time to get used to it. But what I found out was if I don't keep it at a low rate, my blood pressure goes up. It also affects my kidneys at that point. So, yeah, I was treated for acute kidney disease, which had to do a little bit with my blood pressure and my heart. And they're all related, and COPD can bring different things in your body, and they don't assist it make it better. They make your body worse. Okay, I've explained all my health things and some of the things that went on, and I guess what I'm asking for all you guys and women that have COPD, if you're knocking on the door of whether it be the 3rd stage or 4th stage, what you're doing to make it more comfortable, and what are the different things maybe that you're aware of that I'm not. I've tried to keep up on as many things as I can. My number one treatment was singing so that I can keep my muscles strong enough so I can breathe. Okay. Number 2 is, my heart rate, keeping it down has helped tremendously. I keep it between 41 and about 46 beats per minute. I take medication for arthritis. I've got arthritis real bad. My exercise right now, I can't ride a regular bike, but I've got an EV bike, and I can move my legs to whatever amount I can take. And my battery power of my bike actually makes the bike go so that I can get out and enjoy the outdoors. I've got 2 bad knees, so it makes it so I can't really get out and walk long distance. And besides walking long distance, it's a little hard to breathe. I mean, it all is this big circle. So, wanting to know Have you found a good way to exercise where it isn't so boring, number one? Medications, what are you doing? You know, a doctor sees you 10 minutes once or twice a year. You know, you're a specialist. But you live with it 24/7. And you know what works for you or what has to this point. And that's why I wanted to have you on here, that we can talk back and forth. You might be in the comment section down there. If it need be, if we have to go live, we can do that too. It's not a big deal. But we can exchange ideas. And maybe you have a YouTube channel. We can help each other on going through the ones that have helped or have good ideas, latest technology. I don't see too much out there. The inhalers that last 24 hours affect my throat. I haven't found one yet that sustains me without having throat issues such as thrush or infections in the throat, and actually makes it so you can't really talk. I'm out of fresh ideas. I have pretty much tried as many things as I can to get to this stage. Now, a little over a year ago, I was at 260 pounds, and I've lost 30 pounds, and I'm not on a diet. Right now, I mean, I'm down to losing a couple pounds a week now. I don't know if you're going through similar times. I still have a big roll and tummy here. So I'm losing it in a lot of places, but not places you necessarily want to lose it. My face is a lot thinner in the last year. My neck, you can see a lot of loose skin, and my legs are getting loose skin on from the amount that I've lost. And I don't mind it. I need to lose it because, quite frankly, my lungs, whatever's inside here, when I weigh a lot more, I start having a lot of problems, more problems breathing than I do now. And I don't know if I could go back to 260 and survive it. I'm just barely doing at 230, and that's pretty light for me. It's been a long time. Well, I take that back. A couple years ago, I got pretty sick. I got down to 230 pounds, and that was around my back operation. I got pretty sick off from painkillers, and I couldn't eat. So I dropped that weight very quickly. Within a few weeks, it was, you know, I just kept going down, and they tried a different medication on me, and that worked. I got my appetite back and could eat. So. It seems like if you have a lot of pain in something and they give you that stuff, it doesn't always get you through it. Sometimes you have to change it to something else. I don't know if you become too tolerant or whatever it is. I'm not on any painkillers. I take a Tylenol once in a while, but the painkillers are too hard on me. I can't eat if I take very much of it, and I'm not looking forward to that part. Prednisone has been the best for me, and the side effects, of course, are weight gain. And I think you have a bone loss when you take too much prednisone. I have prednisone for kind of temporary emergency in between visits if I start having some major problems. It helps my lungs clear up when I take prednisone. It's just not good for you to take it on a regular basis. When you get down to that last year or so, I know my neighbor, he took prednisone every day for the last 2 years of his life. And without it, he probably wouldn't have been able to operate at all. He had to have something. So that would probably be, you know, one of the next things maybe. But I'm relying on people out there that are going through it or have. So if you would, anything you can tell me about it or help me with. And I'm not looking for any finances. I've made myself where I can get through most of the things financially. I've got Medicare, I've got Advantage, United Advantage, Part D, and the whole rigmarole. So on things that are allowed through those programs, I get it's not a big deal. And like I say, I don't need, and I'm not looking for any money. All I'm looking for are ideas that kind of help. So if you can bring yourself to sharing how you got to the point you are and what you plan on doing in the future, I'll try to do the same thing reciprocally. Like I say, I've had it a long time. I've had it since 1987. It didn't hurt me too bad till 15 years later. It was predicted at that time when it would knock me out of the workforce. Luckily enough, I started recovering. I made it till I was 65. The stroke made it so that I knew that, I was going to have to retire. I knew that I couldn't go much further. And my health turned around when I retired. It got better. Now it's gotten worse, and that's why I'm on here. I want to know, what can we do together? So, and I'm not a big worry about it. I made my peace with my Lord, and if He chooses to take me tomorrow, well, it's been a great ride. And I'm looking forward to more, and I'm looking forward to a good ride. And I am for all of you out there too that are suffering. Let's help each other. And we can do that morally. And I'll pray for you, and hopefully you'll pray for me. And with that, I'm going to let you go and hope we can start building your channel and my channel for people that like people like this that can exchange ideas. Okay. I'm having fun out here with other stuff, and I don't need anybody to feel sorry for me. I am interested in helping and being helped with these issues that we're facing, you and me, over the next, hopefully, some years. But if it's less, I'm going to enjoy them as well. Every day that I have is a gift from the Lord, and I love Him for that. So with that, I'll see you.